viewers, how you doing? I just thought I'd do another little video. I've just been watching some videos and putting them on Facebook, and I thought they were kind of entertaining, and I thought I'll do a few more. Right, I'll do some more. I do apologise to people. I've been nobbled and stuff, and we're doing all sorts of different things. I guess all sorts of things are going on, and I suppose you know what I'm doing is a lot of people are interested in what I'm doing. So you know, it is, you know. Anyway, I'm a little bit jittered at the moment, so if I don't come across as my normal, you know, peppy self, you know. Anyway, so I was thinking about doing a little bit more science, you know, just entertaining some of my ideas, just putting them out there. You know, you see, I'm not getting paid for any of it, you know. So I mean, I'm just getting paid with normal life, which, to be honest with you, I don't really think is very fair, given what I've experienced and what I've gone through. But nevertheless, you know, because of the nature of what we deal with, and because of the extremeness of what the people have experienced, you know, you just grin and bear and put up with it for the sake of the majority, right? And also for the minority. So there's going to be a whole bunch of fucking mind conflict deltas taking place, and it's continuous flipping. Supposedly it is like having a garden. You got to continually, you know, prune it and one thing and another and stuff. I'm all I do realise and appreciate that you know, the great progress is being made by human. I do actually think that, you know, the human brain is, for me to be able to do what I want to do, I gotta feel good, right? So I don't think it's good that people should just be, you know. Anyway, I suppose stealing work, basically. That's really what I was going to say. They're just basically stealing off of people, and they think because they can get away with it, and they can just do it continuously without any recourse. And I'm not of that opinion. I don't think it should be like that, you know. And people should be allowed to have the freedom to be able to be creative and to benefit from the things that they come up with. All right. If it's a complicated thing, isn't it? It really is complicated, you know. But you see you see, the thing is about life is pretty. Things are sometimes pretty simple, though, aren't they? You know, this belongs to me. I want it, I take it. No, this belongs to me, and it stays belong to me. You don't have a right to take it, okay? And that's what your group has got to learn. I do get a little bit frustrated and annoyed sometimes. I do apologise. I'm kind of I put up with a lot, you know, and I take a lot on the chin, and sometimes I do get annoyed, though. Yeah. I know, it's amazing. Sometimes I do actually get annoyed. It's amazing, isn't it? So, but no, I just thought I'd do a little bit more of. I've got a whole bunch of my work, and I just thought I'd present it to you because I thought I kind of enjoy presenting the knowledge, some of the things I've been coming up with. I know a lot of people are extremely secretive and silly about things, but in the real world, if you want to get anything done, you've got to put stuff out there. All right, it's as simple as that. If you're so secretive that, you know, nothing ever gets done, right? So anyway, I'm not gonna. So so I've got a pile of information that I've made, and a lot of it is already out there in the public domain already. But I just thought I'd just have a nice little video to put together to explain some of the thoughts and ideas, because I thought it's kind of enjoyable to do so, you know. Just to do that. I'm just doing a bit of a modification, so one of my panels. It's already on the public domain. I've already put it out there, so it's not. As I said, I just wanted to explain. You know, just having the joy of explaining my work and stuff, the ideas that I'm coming up with. It's like, because I really enjoy creating stuff. You know, it's a joy to be able to do that, to be able to create. Yeah. So, yeah, actually, describe that pretty well. I might actually redo this video right now. Just writing something you just want to amongst yourselves. I want to skip ahead a little bit. I'm going to be about a few minutes just writing this out. I don't feel like doing it now. Don't feel like doing it. I was really, you know, entertaining myself, and I got myself really, and then don't want to do it now. Don't want to do it. So I'm letting you see me going through all the crap, and I don't know, you know, it's just. Oh, cricky. That's right, that's it. Sorry. Sure. Yeah. Forgot my own work. Something's messing around with me, I don't know, on the insides, and I'm not feeling very good. Used to. Right. Everyone just wants a piece of me. Everyone just wants, you know. It's just not right, dude. So da. Listen to that. Don't know, just I feel knackered up now. It's already knackered me off. I just okay. Well, I thought I'd enjoy sort of. Well, this is the thing. It's like, okay, well, if we can't stop them, we'll fuck them up so they can't enjoy coming up with the knowledge and creating and benefit from it. Aren't you guys bastards? Anyway. Right, okay. You may have seen, some of you may have seen on my Patreon account just recently this. Okay, it's I've just been putting some additional data on it. Okay, and this is to do with the optical NAND gate idea that I came up with, and the thought that I can actually use it to see the information. Optical NAND gate. So can you see we've got a substance there, photochromatic, or some similar sort of substance, and what would happen is that as the light's coming in, right, you've got a constant light source there. If we go to the bottom there, as you can see, no input, but with a constant light source, you're getting the output there, the photons out. Okay, the photon signal output. So as you can see, the energy of the photon 1 plus the energy of photon 2 plus the constant photon source lambda c is less than the energy threshold, which means that the output is going to be greater than 0, which means it's 1, or you have an output. If you go to the next one, 0, 1, same thing, it's still less than a threshold level, so the output is still 1. If you go to the next level, or 1, 0 as opposed to 0, 1, that's the same. And then the only time when you actually get a 0 output, right, no photons coming out or passing through the photochromatic material, is when you have both both channels, both inputs, lambda 1, lambda 2, having a signal of an optical signal, along with the constant photon source lambda c, and that breaches goes greater than energy threshold of the photochromatic material, which means it blocks the light, and as a result you get a 0 signal out, and that's what I think an optical NAND gate should be. Just to show you previous work, this is a reference of previous work, actually, this piece of paper here. Okay, it's dated 21st 8/16. It's actually a regurgitation of something that was previous. Okay, and as you can see, it shows you the constant light source, the input signals, and the output. This is just a little bit more of a sort of mathematical descriptor, slightly more mathematical descriptor of that. Alright, so that's kind of important, and the thing is, you can actually there's quite a number of different ways to create an optical NAND gate that I've been working on, and one of the other ways was actually to create interference. You can use interference to actually do the computational aspect of the NAND gate and produce it that way. No doubt there are companies around the world that will be working on a technology. I'm not in a position to be able to do anything about it right now. I want the technology done. I want it on, so we've got to advance man's knowledge. So this is the way you're going to do it. As you know, I want to create a semiconductor company in the future as well, and produce chips. But this is pretty straightforward, and it's like anybody around the world could do it. And we could even, add the idea of the self-powered aspect to it. You remember the self-power MOSFET idea? So you can take the level of the small fibers that jiggle, and you could use that and attach that to the optical NAND gate, and so you could get a self-powered optical NAND gate. Alright, so that would be kind of cute. The laser, you'd need for the constant supply, the constant photon supply on the gates, you'd need a little laser, so you're going to need a power source to produce the light, and also the signals, the photonic signals, and to do that you're going to need lasers. So it's electrons and lasers. So even though you've got an optical NAND gate, you still theoretically, you really do still need a source of power, unless of course you just have a big source of light, and you just put that through the chips and use a singular source to do it. There's loads of different ways to do it. I'm feeling a bit jaded at the moment because I've just been nobbled, and config deltas and whatnot. No, I'm going to Soup Kitchen later. Okay. So that was one particular idea I wanted to just share with people, because I just thought it's kind of cute to be able to do so. I'm not getting paid to keep my mouth shut. I'm not getting paid for anything, so I'm just coming up with stuff and putting it out there just because I can. As simple as that, right? Our money changes everything. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, of course. I'd be much more secretive then. Yeah, of course. Yeah. But it is right now. I'm just being exploited, and I don't like it. So. But I do appreciate what we've been through and everything, and then this is going out globally on the internet, and just stick it out there and let them all fucking fight over it, eh? So, anyway, and you remember the idea of silicon chips, right? The idea of multiple cores. I mean, all of this you can imagine coming along down the line. In the future, some CPU, GPU, some sort of combination thereof. 250 cores, let's say, 10 layers, 225 gigahertz, 1 terabyte of RAM, optical NAND gates, self-powered, also using interference cavities. All of this stuff I've come up with, and it's very simple. I came up with it when I was in the United States, dude. Okay. I also came up with this idea when I was in America that there's no speed limit on computing. Right, there's literally no speed on how fast you can compute, because we're going to be able to create overcome the natural limits of the universe. We can do non-natural engineered states of space and energy and matter. Well, then, of course, we can compute faster than the universe naturally can. So as a result, there's literally going to be no Moore's law, if you like, is like it doubles it, which that's the rate at which it progresses at. But there's nothing that says, well, is there a limit on speed except for the speed of light? And of course, we can exceed the speed of light. SEM and the post-relativistic physics says that we can exceed the speed of light, and so as a result, and based on that, there's no limit, therefore, on the limit on how fast we can how fast we can compute. Okay, so we're going to have all this going on in the very, very near future. Okay, I mean, these sort of things I'm suspecting could be done within the next pretty quickly. I mean, it'd be great if we can get the computers, the CPUs, to compute at 25 gigahertz. I mean, that would be something just incredible. And all those cores and all the different ways in which we can create CPUs. Because at the moment, computers are still very, very basic. You know, they're very, very simple. Another idea which was really important, working on. This comes from my ZBox idea. This is what we're working on CL. See this here? You've got like the idea that you can actually put software, your program, not just in RAM, but you can put it in firmware. So you could create, your software in firmware. So the idea is that it gets executed faster, all right? And then the firmware can then directly program the CPU's registers, so you don't have to like load the registers. You could just directly load. You can directly load them, right, into the actual CPU from the firmware. So you're getting this combination of software and firmware program execution. And the resultant of that is that the firmware, as opposed to like using the software idea of transferring information into the registers, the firmware will actually is directly wired right into the CPU, and so that the firmware can actually transfer data and retrieve data directly into the CPU, as opposed to having to go through an instruction load and store, right? So I think that's going to be an important advancement in the CPU design. Really important. Well, it's creative. I'm very creative and enjoy the creative process. And it's like, look, dude, I mean, how long do you want to hold people back, forward? Just hold on to the reins. Well, you guys, I've got a company to build. I've got a degree to make. I literally don't understand what you guys were doing, really. The idea of trying to control the space and everything and trying to milk it for everything is fucking weird. While I agree in principle, and What do you mean, shut up? You shut up. And don't speak to what's name like that, okay? Right, so, well, yeah, I'm going to say something that's going to piss people off. Well, so what? No, I don't fucking care about just pissing people off. Ah! Yeah, those idiots, right? You're scared of those fucking idiots. Well, you know. So yeah, so the idea of layering, I mean, I think companies are actually working on the idea of layering silicon, right? So you've got multiple capability within a single chip, within a single CPU, let's say. And the idea of I suppose the idea of having the CPU and the GPU separate is that you can upgrade either of them, right? But I think if you could put like the GPU as a layer within the CPU unit, there's probably legal reasons why you can't do that, right? It's like, yeah, Nvidia and other people would probably get upset about that. And it's like, you know, you're encroaching on our... Or it might just be that the CPU guys just aren't as good as the GPU fellas, right? And that they don't have the sufficient whatevers to be able to do that. And it's also part of the system and everything and things. So, you know, progress is it's a funny business. So, but yeah, so you could have, I suppose, like a standard sort of GPU within the CPU, and then have a hyper sort of have like a fast interconnect from the GPU to the CPU, and have a direct wire into the GPU, and you know, that way. There's all sorts of config and the ways in which it can actually be created and made, right? And have you know, we could have the eChip power layer, or have the MOSFETs. Not the MOSFETs, the optical NAND gates self-powered, you know. So there's a lot in the future that's going to happen, and there's a lot of self-iteration going on, and knowledge being created and then regurgitated and developed and stuff. It's unbelievably complicated, right? What's actually going on, and. No, I feel nobbled, and I don't feel my normal self at the moment. But you know, I mean, the whole point is to fucking enjoy life and enjoy creativity and everything. But people just want to be silly and stupid about it. No, I appreciate people wanting to protect knowledge and everything, and I do want to protect knowledge. And you know, it was bloody poverty that sort of created the fucking problem in the first place. But it was poverty. You know, give the rest of the opportunities. So, you know, swings and roundabouts, 64 on favourite, and probably will go. You know, there's so much stuff. I wanted to do a little proper little presentation of some. Just, oh, here's another piece of knowledge here, and I'll just talk about this. And I was going to do it like that, you see, but I've got nobbled and I don't feel like it anymore. So it feels more like fucking work than. Well, not necessarily work, because work can be pleasurable, and it should be pleasurable. That's the thing. But it just feels like a drudge now rather than a pleasure. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that was an interesting little point I came up with a little while ago. Remember this? The idea that neuron input basically fires possibly on the recognition of inputs, and then produces an output. Okay. So like, if you understand what I'm saying, it's like there's a, say like this one fires, this one fires, this one fires, but these other two don't fire. That creates the firing pattern within the neuron. So it's a bit like a digital hardwired circuit, pattern recognition circuit within a neuron. That was one particular idea I thought I came up with. I thought it was kind of neat. Don't know if it's true or not, but you know. Yeah, I'm not sort of in the swing of it, because I am battling something at the moment currently as I'm speaking. But yeah, I mean, the idea of loads and loads of cores, computers running at tens of gigahertz. think is really is going to be coming along the line sometime in the future, you know. I mean, the point at which we get into double digits on the gigahertz thing on CPUs, you know, I think the fastest we got at the moment is like 5 gigs, isn't it? But if they've clocked them to about, I think, 8, possibly whatever the military's been able to do. So maybe the military can kick it up to about 10 gigs, right? But under extreme circumstances, probably. I'm thinking about, like, you know, commercial product at 10 plus. How many years from now? It's 2017, so they'd probably ramp it up in 1 gig, wouldn't they? Yeah, but there might be some sort of weird situation between 5 gigs and 10, which means it'd like jump a couple of gigs or something, you know, or drop. Oh, didn't mean to go. Anyway, whatever. This video probably might not get out into the public domain, so. It was a cute little idea. Using virus as a collection of molecular NAND gates. Just waiting to go to Soup Kitchen, dude, so something to eat. I'm starving. Da, 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 da. There's a little article I found actually about that very topic. Iteration in software versus replication in hardware. Yes, just on a little it doesn't say very much. Basically, says about the amount, the difficulty in actually doing it. Actually, yeah, it just basically says it's quite difficult to do. Yeah. So there's some little silicon stuff. Enjoy making ideas, going out with them. Still get novels, you know. I've already put it's only. I've put it on Patriot's account, dude. It's on my Patriot account. A lot of stuff's on Patriot account. Yeah. You know the idea that we want to communicate with the literal sun, you know. and I put this on me, you know, see that sort of thought, communication directly with the universe itself. The idea, if as I say, I'm right about the idea that the universe has mind, matter and energy have mind, which I'm sure it does, and it's been amply demonstrated. Well, then our brains would want to communicate with the sun and the universe itself. Yeah, the idea that the Egyptians, they knew that the literal sun was the creator 3,500 years ago. You know, the Egyptians really knew what they were talking about in those days. Yeah. It's really important, that point. You just... Oh, yeah, here's a little thought. I've been working on this particular idea for some time. And it's to do with dematerialization and materialization. So you got the human there, and it's got like the sort of reflected self around itself. Well, if you were to dematerialize and then rematerialize, the idea is that you'd have to see that Q-couple the reflected self, and then materialize, and then you got the reflected self being basically transferred from one location to another. So they're here. That's the material side. There's the dematerialized self, and as you can see, it's coming across like that. And so that's how I think how you'd do it in reality. The other idea, variation on the theme, with respects to the aggregation of sigma universes. The spheres represent aggregations of literal universes, and they could all clump together like that, of course. That could possibly be true. We just don't know. And the idea of cells. When the universe came up with the idea of a cell, single cell, prokaryotic and eukaryotic, amazing the things that you can actually do with cells. Incredible things that the universe can do with cells. I'm not really feeling this presentation today. I do feel slightly disturbed. I've had a bit of a thing this morning. They've seriously had another go at me today, and I feel slightly you know. I was going to do something with space and mechanics. You remember this little entry there? See that little plate, as they call it? I was going to say. And as you can see, the equivalence really in an SEM is that all the universes, or the sigma universe, let's say, here, right, those squiggly lines, are really quite equivalent to a space granule flufficle, where you got loads and loads of fragments that are higgledy-piggledy like a piece of fluff, right? I was talking about the piece of fluff. You see that? And so it's kind of equivalent. I think, given the idea of the fractal nature of the universe, it's probably quite true that essentially that the sigma universes are basically like you know, a gigantic space granular flufficle, because you think that one reflects the other, basically, in the sense of scale attributes, and that the fractal are elements of life. I've said this before, dude. It's nothing new. I'm just going over old stuff and just presenting it, just because I thought I'd have a nice bit of a time just presenting it to people. But yeah, I know, I appreciate people like, oh, what should I say, what can't I say, what am I trying to protect, what's alright to get out there. But a lot of it stuff is already out there, and a lot of it people already know. There's a little atom I'm working on. Remember the idea of the atom, the space granules convoluting there, and you've got the north and south ejector of space granules. Okay. Inside you've got like a spinning thing, like a galaxy, right at the core of an atom. And all the space granules are coming into the atomic envelope, pouring into the nucleus, being regurgitated in the atomic envelope, and also being pushed out at north and south. The idea that that is because I thought, well, if the space granule gravity, the motion of the space granules, right, then the inducement of that is by the fact that the matter needs to be renewed. The space granule, there must be a flow of space granules through matter if space granules are moving. So the matter must be being renewed itself, you see, which induces gravity. So it's the idea of gravity and the motion of the space granules that really gave me the idea, the insight that matter must be renewed and vice versa, you know. And so therefore the idea that space granules are flowing into the atomic envelope, but they're also flowing out, because if they didn't flow out, then atoms would like that, unless of course they're going out through the subfibril network, which is also quite possible. But also you've got the thought that, you know, it depends on the leakage rate of the subfibril network, right? So, but I think that's probably correct. And the idea that, you know, that because of course you can still have a leakage through the space granule, the subfibril network, which I think is probably also going on, and I have mentioned that previous on other places, or another place rather. But the idea here, you see that the space granules are flowing in and flowing out is really the point that I want to convey, right? And that the idea that you've got north and south space granules flowing can actually be used to bind the atoms together. Yeah. So that's really an important consideration: the flow of space granules in and the flow of the space granules out. Okay. You've probably seen that as well. Okay. This is all old ideas from the working on when I was in the United States. There's nothing new from it. Okay. So people want to be silly and want to claim things their own. They're absolutely bloody crazy. And it's like, you know, take a source of greatness and just pump it fucking dry. See the space granules flowing in around the atomic envelope, passing in, and then passing out. Because of course you've in nature we have this balance. See the programming it, and dude, why don't you just leave me alone? The world knows you got a fucking small dick, so just, you know. Here's another point. With the materializer, I was theorizing when I was in America that the 1G gravitational field is sufficient to produce materialized goods. Right? When I actually produce the materializer, but if we need more space granule flow into the materializer, we could use just a block of matter and then use a microscopic black hole to suck the matter out and pass it through to the materializer. Okay, so we could do that, you know, in the future. Right. But I do think that the 1G flow is probably sufficient. I mean, it's like, if I estimated, I think that the flow of the space granules is about 1,000 miles an hour. So there's a tremendous number of space granules that are flowing into the planet and then flowing out. And so, you know, we got this like reverse gravitational field that should exist around the planet. And as I say, I've theorized it before that there should be a reverse gravitational field, a very weak reverse gravitational field, somewhere around I think it was the equator. It was, so it should be weaker at some places of the Earth. Whether it's geometrically, you know, like a band around the middle, or whether it's higgledy-piggledy. and has an effect to offset the flow of granules in. That actually also supports the idea, I think, that there is a space granular flow out through the subfibril network. But obviously I don't know the rate at which gravity or reverse gravity and the subfibril network flow is. I don't know what the ratio of that is. Okay. I think what would actually happen is that the space granular flow would actually get converted into atomic binds. Okay, so the atoms get bound together. No, you didn't just tell me that, dude. Because there are things that you don't know yet. So the conclusions that you're coming to and saying, look, I told them this, trying to prove that their system or their way of doing things is correct, is you know, the right way. There are things that you don't know. As a consequence of you not knowing, there's a high degree of probability that the conclusion that you're coming to, trying to prove your own point, is incorrect. And I'm referring to the system designers, or at least the people who are used to working with the construct. And the group knows precisely who they are. You're trying to justify what you do on the basis of, look, he's just done this, he's just done that, da 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 da. You're presenting basically a bunch of excuses to people so that you can bamboozle them, so you can keep them on your side, so that you can continue doing what you do and get away with fucking murder. It's not appreciated, dude. Just is not appreciated. As I say, I don't know the ratio of the subfibril network to space granular outflow from matter. I don't know what the rate of that is. But what I've created so far, or what I've come up with so far with respect to the atomic envelopes and the binding together, they're coming together, they're aggregating together, they're forming matter, suggests that the space granular flow from the atoms that comes out of the atoms is what's responsible for binding them. So that's where the space granules go. So when the space granules flow into the atomic envelope, they're flowing out of the atom, right? Those space granules that are flowing out are what are responsible for creating the binding and creating matter and the stability of that's where all that flow is going, is keeping matter bound together. And then you've got the subfibril network flow. You've got some of the, if you want to use the, well, I can't use, it'd be fragments, wouldn't it? The fragment flows would basically flow through the subfibril network as well. Dude, I'm literally trying to, you know, understand the universe. Well, the thing is, you know, people are messing about and trying to claim stuff. It's like, look, dude, that's crap. What you're trying to do, all right? And it certainly isn't science. Well, don't do that then. Yeah, but it does sort of raise an interesting point. If the amount of flow of the space granules, well, the thing is like, don't forget, there's a lot of space granules that are flowing into the planet, so that there's a tremendous amount of binding that has to go on with. So the thing is, there's going to be a massive amount of flow of space granules around and inside the planet through all the matter. Okay. But the thing is, it does make the point, where does the space granules flow to? Because if you've got this massive flow of space granules flowing into the planet, doesn't matter if it's a small atom or the size of a planet. Well, this is the point you're gonna want me, what you're trying to make, right? You're trying to anticipate. Is like, where do all the space granules flow to? I mean, all right, we can appreciate the massive flows of the space granules binding all the matter together, but then there's got to be an outflow. Well, this is where I came up with the thought then that you know, there is a reverse gravitational flow of space granules flowing out of the planet, just as you've got the space granules flowing out of the atom. The idea that we've got the space granules flowing through the subfibril network is also an important factor to consider. And in fact, in my earlier work on space engine mechanics, that's precisely what I came up with, the idea of the space granules. And there's the image that you can prove that with. Okay, that the flow of the space granules would flow through the subfibril network. But I also concluded later on that there must also be this flow of space granules flowing out of matter as well. But like I said, I don't know the rate of space granules flowing out of matter and the rate of the the rate of the space granular fragments flowing through the subfibril network. People would turn around and say, well, we've not been able to measure the reverse gravitational field that's coming out of the planet. All right. So a lot of the space granules are flowing around the atoms and the matter and keeping them bound together. It's a continuous process, because of course if there was nothing to bind matter together, it would just fall apart. All right. So there is a continual process there, but it does suggest if there's a flow of space granules into the planet, let's say, or an atom, there must be space granules that are flowing out, whether that be through like a reverse gravitational field flow, right, and or through the subfibril network. I've not sort of mentioned about the subfibril network in any work on Facebook or anywhere. That was a secret part of the space engine mechanics. But I mean, I think I have hinted before at the subfibril network and the flow of the fragments through the actual subfibril network. It would seem to suggest that if you've got all that, well, the thing is, it's like, how much flow does it take to bind all those atoms together? Because don't forget, you've got an aggregation of space granules, right? And it's the aggregation of those space granules that are producing the movements, the motion of the space granules as gravity in the first place, right? So there is a tremendous amount that needs, if you like, of matter to be fed with the space granular flow. So, and the resultant of all of this matter on the planet Earth produces a 1G flow of space granules. So while you've got a tremendous amount of space granules apparently flowing into the planet, it may not be as excessive as you'd think, and in fact, knowing the universe, there would be a balance between the planet's need to renew matter and the flow coming out. There would be a balance, yeah, but as I say, a lot of that flow is bound up in the atoms and forming matter and binding it. So that's presumably why you don't see a counter gravitational space granular flow that would counteract the flow of the space granules into matter. Okay, do you understand that? Also, there is actually evidence that was produced recently by the GEO team measuring the gravitational, the variation of the gravitational field around the planet, that the gravitational field on the planet actually isn't consistent, that there is a variation in gravitational field around the entire planet. So the idea that, you know, possibly that there is a counter gravitational field which offsets the flow of the space granules coming into the planet, which is as a resultant of the space granules flowing out, actually I think is supported by that piece of research. So in my opinion, that there is a dilution of the reverse gravitational field flowing out, but it's less than the gravitational field flowing in, because the matter, the space granules, have got to renew the matter and bind them all to all these pieces of matter together. So that's really where all of the space granular flow is being taken up by, and so that is why that the gravitational flow, the space granular flow in, right, is less than the space granular flow out. So that's really an important consideration, but I thought that was kind of obvious, to be honest with you, and didn't really need to be explained. But I'm just putting the information out there, so why not explain it, right? There's a lot of stuff that is not said that people take as, oh yeah, obvious, but obviously it does need to be explained. Like, you know, I thought that was kind of obvious. But yeah, so you've got to understand and appreciate that point, okay? So you've got all those bits and pieces together that would explain the reason why we have a 1G flow of gravity, right? An important consideration, dude. And if you want to sort of go over, you know, so yeah, so well, I'm gonna stop the video right here, I think, and I'm gonna just put this little. I thought that was kind of obvious, to be honest with you, dude. I thought that was sort of intuitive. If there was a flow of coming in, there's going to be a flow going out, but the flow going out is going to be apparently less than the flow coming in. The reason for that is because of the binding. All right, so I thought that was intuitive. Of course, you've got the subfibril network. It's going out through the subfibril network as well. But so as I say, I thought that was, but of course you guys wouldn't have known about the subfibril network, and so anyway, now you know, okay?